Hello, hello, hello. Hey guys, it looks like I put the time 10 minutes or 20 minutes in advance. Sorry if you guys been waiting for me on a line. And hi to this special Halloween. I'm super happy to be here. If you are in the chat, please let me know if you can hear me well. I always like to do a sound check before I go into deeper the subject. Today we will work on a daily five. For those that don't know what that is, I'm going to explain it. It's one of our monthly challenges that we have in the community. It's a free challenge, and I'll explain what it is in a second, how you can participate. But yeah, as usual, just please let me know if you can hear me well before I go into the deep of the subject. Today, I will teach you also about portraiture. I'm going to show you how I manage to do all my daily fives in between 5 to 30 minutes. I'm going to talk about my step-by-step process. You're going to see it live. It's going to be stressful for me because usually I'm doing it with my music in my ears and I don't talk to the camera. So we'll see what I can do while teaching at the same time, because 5 to 30 minutes is a small amount of time, but I'm pretty excited about doing it. So I see Pepe that says yes. Kiava that says yes. Christina, thank you so much for letting me know, guys. Appreciate it. So yeah, without further ado, let me just share what I have for you today. Here we go. So if you haven't seen that yet before, this is the daily prompt or daily five challenge. This is a list of prompts that I give every month. There is 31 for the month of October, and today we are the 31st of October, which means that we are doing the Frankenstein monster. Now, I already did it. You already probably saw it. Matter of fact, it is right here. But I'm going to do another one in front of you guys. One thing that I have for me to help me with this is a bunch of references. Doing the daily five means having references. So having a little bit of time to prepare before, having a few references is always a good idea when you participate. Now, I also want to announce that, so we have that was the October, we have the November starting tomorrow. And so if you want to participate into this one, there's something very special. Every month we're doing prompts, but also it's attached to a brief, a professional brief that we give for free in the community to create a professional illustration. Now, next month, it's the holiday season that starts, obviously everywhere, and we are going to do greeting cards. I have it right here. So the idea, let me just make it less big. The idea is to create a series of cards that you'll be able to sell for the holiday. So this is why we're starting on the 1st of November. We'll have the entire month of November to basically create greeting cards that we can, after that, upload to a Society6 or a Redbubble, basically any online store, to make a few dollars with our illustrations. So if you have been dreaming about making a few dollars and become a professional artist with your art, this is the perfect project for you. It starts tomorrow on the 1st of November. It's 100% free. You all have to do is just to be in the tribe. I'll be posting the brief tomorrow for everybody to see. And what I do is I participate at the same time, so you'll be able to have my example during the month. If you are in a DPA, what you get on top of that is the video process that I do as well. But I'll be talking about that probably in a few more days. For now, I just wanted to let everybody know that this is coming. So if you want to have the new prompt list, be sure to be in the tribe tomorrow. In the meantime, I'm just going to close these because today we are doing a Frankenstein monster. So I've been doing this one a few days ago, and I need to just bring that here. I've been doing this one a few days ago, just in advance to show what it is. And today I would love to do another one. I thought that I could do two things. The daily five, as the title says, you can take 5 minutes really to actually do an illustration. I want to show you how I would approach that with only 5 minutes. And I also want to to show you the 30 minutes version of it. The 5 minutes version of it, usually it's only sketches, and I'll explain why. You can also do with color. I'll explain both of them. And the 30-minute one is usually a sketch. I go with colors. I take a little bit more of my time. And this is what you have right here, basically. That's the kind of prompt that you can realize with the amount of time. So without further ado, I'm just going to wait until maybe it's 32 on the clock, because I did start that earlier. So what I want to do, I'm going to put that aside for now. And small here. And right here, I'll be starting with 5 minutes, and I'll put the clock in a second. So when you're doing a 5-minute prompt and you're participating into the daily prompt challenge, there is a couple of ways for me that you can do. There's 3 ways. The first one is concentrate only on the sketch. And if you do so, it will really give you just practice with the sketching. With sketching is a huge part of being able to draw anything from imagination, to be able to like look at references and then create something from imagination. The sketch is a huge part of it. So I think to spend 5 minutes on a sketch every day for a few days is definitely a great way to see progress in your learnings. The second way that you can do it is finding a reference picture and concentrate on applying colors from the get-go, but this time not drawing from imagination necessarily or putting few references together, but just painting that reference. And the third one is a mix of both, which usually takes a little bit more time and is a little bit more rush. So I think the 2 first ones are better. I will try to show you both today, 2 5 minutes, and then I'll finish with a 30 minutes version. So yeah, if you have any question, let me know. And if you are in the chat, let me know what are you doing for Halloween. I'll be looking at the chat in between each of those. So let me start with putting the clock for 5 minutes. Bam. And I'll start with the sketch one. So when you're doing a sketch, obviously there is techniques like the Andrew Loomis method that can be really interesting. Definitely have some reference pictures to help you. Painting from imagination doesn't mean painting from memory. I'm looking at my reference pictures and kind of getting inspired by what I'm seeing. I really like these 2 pictures right here to help me with that Frankenstein. Those are 2 actors, Carol Strickland and Rachel Keel, that been playing either I think in Frankenstein role or some equivalent. They have bone structure that reminds me a little bit of Frankenstein, which means like they have like a very prominent forehead, those kind of things. So having those kind of references will really help you. And with a 5-minute sketch, I'm trying to not go into details, but really go into shapes. So having just the right shapes will help you. And you'll see the time will go super fast. So really the idea is just to kind of concentrate on the shape. I don't know for the mouth what I would do. A few lines sometimes. And it's a technique that will pay off, especially to concentrate on shape, especially when you're going to do the bigger one, because you still need, when you're doing when you spend more time on something, to kind of have a game plan to not waste too much time on detail. So with that technique right here, or that mindset, I can only concentrate on shapes. I'm not going into details. And you can see there's things like my eyes are not perfect, and I'm not going to dwell on it. I'm just kind of establishing what I'm seeing. I'm getting inspired from their bone structure. I'm placing a few lines. It's more about design than it is about having a clean sketch. If I were to do it, like to compare it to the sketching process that I like to do, this would be called my loose sketch. And a loose sketch, what it is that it's loose lines that you're going kind of fast on to establish the design, the shape, and the ideas, basically. So there's already like almost 3 minutes gone, so as you can see. So at this point, I have kind of like my base. I can come in, and what I like to do usually is just use the eraser and delete in transparency a little bit, and then I can just go a little bit more into detail. So I'm gonna kind of look at his eyes a little bit more closely and kind of try to play with a little bit more the details. But still, again, not concentrating too much on tiny details, because if I start looking at just tiny details, I'm going to lose myself. Usually on a sketch, especially with a portrait, if you spend just a little bit more time on the eyes, which is what I'm doing right now, it's going to pay off. Still a minute to go. So already that's pretty good. I think I could maybe spend more time on the mouth, maybe. Let's see what I can do here. Still a minute to go. Adding a few lines. I'm not thinking too much about shadows. I'm not thinking too much about light. All I want to establish is kind of the design. So you can think about like cross contour lines and just things that will help you to understand the form. Still 20 seconds. Maybe a little bit for the ear, but not going into too much details. I know I could think about like, yeah, it's a Frankenstein at the end of the day, so there's probably like a pin of some sort here. Maybe I'm seeing the other side. Maybe not. Something like that. I could add little marks here and there, little scratches, and that's it. All right. So if you're participating into the Daily 5, doing a quick sketch like this really helps to concentrate on just the shape. So what I did is I concentrated on the shape of the structure of the skull, of the eyes, of the chin, these basic, and that at the end represents a loose sketch. And you'll see when I'm going to do the 30-minute version, this is the first thing I'm going to do. And then from there, I'll put that in transparency, and I'm going to start kind of tracing over it and adding more details, moving some stuff, making sure that my proportions are correct and all of that. Okay, so that was the first one. I will put that here. As usual, let me know if you have any questions in the chat. I'll put that on the side right here, and I'm going to mark this one 5 minute. We'll do another one. Like I was saying, for the other one, I'm going to go directly in colors. Now, when you go directly in colors, you cannot start designing on top of that. You really want to have one for one, because color will ask you a completely different set of skills to be able to do this. What you'll need to do is to concentrate on value, lighting, also some shapes, but a lot more about lighting and colors. I'm going to create a new layer. It's already done. I'm going to take just a hard round brush for this one. And so I need to figure it out which one of these I want to do. And I think I'm going to go for just a classic one from this image of Frankenstein. So when you're doing just a 5 minutes, just find a reference really and kind of try to establish that. So let me just zoom in. I'm going to restart the clock. And boom, give it a go. First thing I want to do is the background. So when you're doing 5 minutes on this, I think the exercise transformed from being a design one to being like more like something about like finding the colors, finding the lights with your eyes will definitely help. I'm gonna go just with like probably like a just a few different like tones here, but not too much. And you don't want to dwell too much on it, so that's going to be enough for like my background. I'm going to create a new layer just to help me here, and then I'm going to establish just the shape. And you'll see at the end, this is not going to be like a polish illustration. It's going to be more like kind of a thumbnail, like a quick thumbnail. So I'm gonna just kind of establish the shape here. Maybe there's a ear and ear here. There's the neck, and then there's like kind of the shoulders. And what we want to do is more about like finding the colors, trying to establish the colors that we're seeing more than the shape and the design of it all. From here, I'm gonna take just a soft round brush. And well, actually, no, I'm going to take the harder round brush and I might go with trying to establish the basic colors. I'm not going to go dark right away from the hair because I want to establish more values, more tones. Like I'm seeing some red, I'm adding some red. I'm going to use a little bit of the darker tone to establish a few things such as the nose, the eyes, these kind of things. But I don't want to go into details at all. It's more about kind of adding the values at the right places when I need it. And it's much more difficult for me and for pretty much anyone I think that would try this than doing a sketch. But it really works on different skill sets, about observation mostly, and trying to see the values and colors that you see. So it's a very good exercise for that. Just trying to go in one for one, and time just goes super fast with that exercise. So maybe don't do it while you're doing it live. But let me try to just push as much as I can within the time frame that I have. I'm going to establish the shadow here, which will definitely help. I have the clothing, it's kind of darkish here. And it starts to look like something. You want to add some different hues, different values. Kind of try to establish all the different pieces of light that you see. And obviously at that speed, with that amount of time, you cannot go too much details. Now I'm adding the black to add the accents at the right place. It's kind of this here. There's kind of a darker accent in the corner of the eyes. Still a minute. Trying to add that. Now you'll see that the black, we'll just add some more contrast to it. And yeah, it's, once it's started to take form, which I think right now it is, it's starting to be super like rewarding, because I just spent 5 minutes on it and start seeing like all these different tones and values, and it really just helps you to understand your subject a little bit better. And obviously with more time, you'll be able to do a better job. But even with just a few minutes, if you're able to just concentrate on colors, value, you're looking at like all the different things. I'm looking at like, I'm seeing different greens, I'm placing a few touches here and there. It's kind of the subsurface scattering of it all. 15 seconds, I might just try to, the value is a lot more pale here. Something like that. Bam, 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 bam. And so that's another exercise you can do with a 5 minute prompt. Completely two different things that will bring you different skills as well. Both super fun, but also what I'm trying to show you here is that, because my belief is that if you paint just a little bit every day, your progress will go much faster than if you paint once a week for 10 hours. So these kind of exercises will really help you to establish that progress that you need to eventually get much better at painting. So 2 exercise, 2 sets of 5 minutes. Now, what I want to show you today is how I do a 30-minute prompt from the sketch and the colors. And I do it with starting with a sketch, then I'm adding the basic colors and basic shadows, and I spend a little bit of time. And I want to show you the entire process. So I'll put these aside for now. I might just put them in a folder. And I want to say hi to Sherry that just joined us. Happy Halloween to you too. And let me just get ready with a new sketch. Take my brush. And we'll start from the beginning. Once again, I'm going to change the time to 30 minutes, and I have a 30-minute clock ready right here. But before I start, I want to ask anybody in the chat if there's any questions for the 30 minutes. I'm going to go, like I was saying, into kind of 3-stage sketches, basic values, and details. If you have any questions before I start, let me know. And happy Halloween to everybody. For everybody that just joined us, this is an impromptu little live. I hope you guys are having fun wherever you are. I hope you had a great Halloween as well. I don't know if you have kids and you did some trick or treating with your kids. That's something that I'm looking forward to do with my son, which should get born any day now. Believe it or not, we are waiting for him to appear. And as I'm not seeing any questions, I will start the clock. So let's get started. Start. All right, cool. So when it comes to the sketch, the 5-minute sketch that I just showed you is definitely one of the essence of the technique that I like to use, which is like starting with a base and a kind of a Anjulomis technique style. I'm getting inspired here by the same 2 pictures that I had at the beginning. I like the style of it all. I'm trying to just establish the basic shapes, and I'll do that in the first plan. Might just zoom in a little bit. Oops. A little bit more. Now, when you're doing a 30-minute, the biggest part of your illustration should be your sketch. The reason being, a good sketch will really help you to establish your values at the right places and just kind of create a better illustration. So don't be scared to spend quite a bit of time on it. I like to start with the basic shapes that I'm seeing. I might just change the mouth for something different though. Don't try to zoom in too much with your sketch as well. Because if you do, you're gonna maybe lose yourself into like details, and that's definitely not the idea that we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is establishing the design and slowly kind of bringing that on. I like to put usually like just 2 balls for the eyes as a placement, which I'm going to do now, but I'll go back to it. I'll go back to it to kind of modify that. Having a lot of reference also can help you. Like I'm looking at things like this chin right here, and I'm like, all right, so I like the kind of muscly shapes. There's a few things to get inspired from forehead. And I usually like to kind of delete in transparency my lines and then kind of paint on top of sketch, especially for the loose sketch, because you can really take your time on this one. Miguel asking me what canvas size I'm using. This is a 3000 pixels by 3000 pixels. All right, for the eyes, I feel like I want to have more like the eyes close-ish. So I'm just kind of establishing that. Might still make him look at us though. Something like that could be interesting. I'm not gonna add too much detail on the forehead. I'm probably going to add these lines, getting inspired by this character right here. I really like the way it is, so I might do like something like that, and then maybe change that into like X's. That could be interesting. And then looking at it, I can also just kind of get inspired by the way the nose is constructed and just a few little touch of designs here. But I also like how his eyes are deep. There's kind of just a depth into the way the bone structure is created here. So yeah, this is design. I'm not going into too much details. I'm establishing the bone structure. Flipping it can help. Like I feel like maybe the head should be a little bit larger here. Delete that. Establishing the neck. And flipping in, flipping out. This is just a base structure of my sketch. And see, I'm looking at the time right now and it's almost 5 minutes gone, and that's fine. I can go up to 15 minutes for the sketch, because at the end of the day, I'll show you that you don't have to spend a ton of time on rendering to create a nice prompt into just a few minutes. So really, for as long as you have a game plan, everything can be fine. So getting inspired here. I think I got my base here. I think I'm ready to just put this one into transparency. That's my loose sketch, and I'm going to put a top layer on top of it. And that, at this point, I'm going to go on top of this and really just take my time here to to just kind of establish more the details. Now, I've been kind of basing my sketch on this character, so I'm going to just kind of zoom in a little bit, and at this point, taking more of my time, trying to do just better lines, and yeah, taking the time for the design of this one. Sometimes also less is more. So I have like a lot of lines for the loose sketch, but I'm going to try to add less, maybe line, for the final sketch, because ultimately I'll be painting this. And if you have a ton of lines on your sketch, you will have to delete most of them for the rendering afterwards. So yeah, trying to have not too many lines, but establishing the basic shapes for your character will help. And now we're in the phase where I start to talk very, very slowly as I'm concentrated. So sorry if I start mumbling a little bit. Flipping in, flipping out, trying to get the right perspective on things. Will definitely help. And the cool thing with this technique is you don't have to spend too much time on the loose sketch. And after that, all you have to do is almost like trace your own sketch, which is really rewarding at the end of the day. I think the mouth was more like his mouth, so I'm gonna try to look at his mouth instead. I have a corner here, bottom lip. Something like that. I'm going to flip here, trying to establish the other eye. Just gonna look at this. Might actually try to flip this one as well to help me. Kind of a shadow, deep shadow here. All right. So getting established slowly. Like I was saying, less is more in a lot of cases. I just want to make sure I have enough information to start the lights, shadow, colors, all that jazz, which is pretty good so far. I'm just gonna finish it here. Also, you have to remind yourself, right? So we're doing daily prompts here. They are not meant to be necessarily amazing final work. They are meant to be practices that you can do on a daily basis to help you build an art habit, and at the same time learning how to let go of your perfectionism so that you can paint more, because ultimately to get better at painting, it's all about putting the time and painting more. So if you're able to like spend 5, 10, 15 minutes, 30 minutes for this example on an illustration on an everyday basis, over time, you'll see greater progress than if you spend 10 hours on the weekend, for example, right? So I think I have established my base. I feel like I'm going to take those two sketch, merge them in, and I'm going to go into liquifying. Don't be scared to use liquify on your sketches. I think it's always a good idea if you see things that needs to be like modified, like my eyes here needs to be just slightly bigger and probably needs to be pushed a little bit lower. I think that's kind of better. Just moving a few things. That's pretty good. I might just, maybe put a square jaw. That's interesting. Press OK. I might just kind of redo that jaw here a little bit. Maybe make a more like buff neck. Establish more muscles here. I might add that iconic pin that the Frankenstein monster has. Maybe we have another pin on the other side. Something like that. That's pretty good as a base sketch. All right, so base sketch done. What are we are in? About 14 minutes gone. That's good enough for me to start. So from there, once you have your sketch, and like I was saying, the sketch is the most important part. Establishing the colors, you can get inspired from what you have. I like to always first start with flat value, and I'm using always the same kind of texture brush here for the flat value. I think I'm going to go with an orange. My first one was on a red. So maybe having an orange, red, saturated, maybe something like that. Just establishing the basic ground. From here, you want to kind of save time by establishing your shapes for each of the parts. So I'm going to take, I think I'm going to take like maybe a greenish. I don't like this green. Maybe some more yellow. Maybe something like that, actually. I think maybe even more. Let's see that. I can always change it afterwards. But what you want to do is, yeah, just fill up that basic shapes. You can use your brush. Sometimes I like to use my lasso tool. It goes a little bit outside of the boundaries, but it's okay. It saves you time, and you can kind of come back afterwards to, there we go, to correct it. That's already pretty good. I'm just going to here at what's there. Depending on the illustration, sometimes from there I like to change the colors of the lines, which I'm going to do for this example. I'm going to put them into like a darker version of that, maybe a little bit darker, something like that. So like it comes kind of like a tone on tone kind of thing, and so it helps with the overall colors. Create a new layer on top of it. I'm going to link it to, or clip it to the layer below. First thing I like to do usually is to add some color tones or hue variation. Before I do so though, I might just see if I want to change with the hue and saturation, the color of this one. I might just go actually towards the orange a little bit, and maybe a little darker, a little saturated. Maybe that's good. And so yeah, like I was saying, I'm going to add a few more colors to the skin tone. I'm going to go with some orange. You have those like, you know, those kind of like anime style and it works on so many characters. Putting the ear, the nose, the lips, even sometimes a little bit of the eyelids, just a little bit of colors like this can really help. And we want to save time here, so we don't want to spend too much time. So I want to establish kind of like some basic colors, some basic gradients, but then I want to go straight up to painting the shadows. Now the shadows are super important because they will establish the form of the object. So for this, I'm going to get inspired by what I have here. Now there is his shadow actually on his head are looking pretty good, I think. So I might actually get inspired by that. So I already have a layer here that's locked to the layer below. I'm going to try to pick up a color, put the layer into multiply, and see. I don't want to go too dark. I think maybe that's good. I can always, if I put it on a separate layer, I'll be able to come back afterwards. And you want to think about, like you started with the sketch with big shapes, you don't want to lose too much time into details. So I'm like trying to establish the big shape. I don't go into details necessarily. I'm not trying to be cute with my brushstroke. Just more establishing what I'm seeing with big brush strokes, having also a rounded brush like this where you can just kind of, I'm kind of just adding a little bit on the side would kind of help with just giving a basic lighting to it all without spending too much time. Back to the hard brush, establishing some more shadows. I think the mouth should be in the shadow, this, that. You'll have a definite kind of cast shadow casted by the jaw here. So I'm actually going to put maybe all of that in it. Maybe a little bit of that jaw. Going back with the soft round brush because you have hard places but also softer places. So I'm going to do that. I'm not putting light just yet. I'm just establishing the basic of the lights here. So just scanning this slowly, looking at that. Whoopsie. That should be a different color. I need to unlock it. Look at this. Pick that up. Bring it back. Okay. Let's reopen all of those. There we go. All right, so let's just see. Add some more lights, some more shadows. And yeah, so that's pretty good. I might just add a little bit more on the ear. Try to zoom out also to see what you're doing. That will help. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to start working on the eyes. So we're working with a time clock here. I have 11 minutes and I want to push it as much as I can in 11 minutes. So you want to start with things that will pay off. In this case, the eyes are definitely a place that if you manage to make the eyes look good, that's like 90% of your portrait when you think about it. I'm going to put darker eyes to this guy and I'm going to put it on top of my lines. To make sure that I have the contrast. Now, I'm not going to use much black anywhere else, but for the eyes, because I want the contrast, I want to make sure that people are looking at the eyes, then that makes sense. And I have on my other screen right here, I have the image in smaller. It helps me to also see what I'm doing from a far distance. So that's a trick, having at two places your illustration. Now I'm seeing a lot of red around the eyes, but before I add the red, I just want to make sure I have kind of just the basic shapes. I think I already have a little bit more contrast, so that's good. I'm going to start adding some red. Again, I don't want to be too cute about it. I'm just like, all right, so there's a bit of red here. It's a bit here. I think it's maybe darker it's supposed to be. Kind of the lines here of the folds a little bit. Maybe some darker tone here in the shadows. I'm going to zoom out here to help me see what I'm doing. Adding just a little bit more red. Again, we're doing a monster, so we don't have to be too cute about it. I don't want to spend too much time on this at the same time. The clock is running. This is supposed to be a quick illustration. I'm going to pick up the lights, and I think I'm going to start adding some lights. So basic lighting. Might use also a soft round brush a little bit to kind of soften all of this a little bit. Looking at my other screen. Using too much soft round brush though, like, will definitely not help you. So we have to be careful with this. Having just harder edge will help. And what you can do is once you have a harder edge established, you can come back and use a mixer brush tool to kind of make the edge just a little bit smaller, the edge a little bit more soft. That's good for now. Let's add, there's definitely some kind of light coming here on that portrait. Just looking at all these lights. Like I was saying, I can use a mixer brush tool or a smudge tool here to kind of smudge a few places. Adding bit light on the nose. And all of this is starting to just take form slowly. But I've been talking too much. 7 minutes. Try to do my best with 7 minutes. The goal, like I was saying, of the goal of these quick paintings is really just to be able to do as much as you can within the time frame that you have. So it's more about learning a technique that will give you more with less time than having the perfect illustration. So for as long as you kind of concentrate on steps, you'll be good to go. I'm going to kind of establish the colors here. You want to think about the illustration as a whole, you know? So like I could add more details on the eyes, but I won't, because there's other part like, well, this detail right here that needs a little bit more love so that it doesn't look unfinished, right? So think about shadows, think about maybe adding a few highlights and just trying to add as much as possible. Like I've been waiting to add some highlights in the eyes, but at this point I think I might just that. And highlights in the eyes of any portraits always really helps a lot. So that's good. 5 minutes. At this point, I'm just going to look at it all. I'm like, what can I do in 5 minutes that will really help me kind of establish this portrait to be better? And I feel like probably the pin here. Could get just a little bit more love. I'll do the pin on the other side. Just adding just a bit of colors already helps. Something like that. Doesn't have to be perfect. I might add just deeper shadows at certain places to establish more form. Highlights to other places. I could decide to have like a bright highlight or brighter highlights at a few places. Adding some highlights on places like the eyes. All of this will add more attention to the face. And then I'm going to look at like this character here, and might see if there's a way for me to just kind of maybe add a few lines on the forehead that could kind of help here, add more details real quick. Maybe not, actually. I think his expression is too passive, but maybe this guy here. Maybe this guy here has just a little bit more of kind of muscle bunging. There's the cut here. I can add just a rim to make it look like there's, whoops. There's a little bit more volume there. And yeah, it really helps your brain to kind of have to think in a way that it does rush you, but it also helps you to make decision based on the greater good. 2 minutes. There's definitely more details that I could add everywhere, but I'm thinking at this point that maybe I could add like some more highlights or a rim light of some sort. The illustration that I had was kind of softish, in the lights. Like there's not like big bright light necessarily, but I'm trying to see if there's like just a few more places that I could push the light a little bit more. Maybe too much. Adding some deeper shadows, a few more highlights. And I'm thinking I would love to make maybe a rim light, 1 minute 47. Let's see if I can do this. If I were to have like that kind of rim light right here, well, it has a lot of details, but let's see. Maybe just a brighter light that would come here and kind of help with establishing some of the volumes. That kind of helps. Just the core shadow a little bit more dark. All right, 20 seconds. I think I'm pretty done for this one. Now, I'm not gonna lie. I think this one was harder than the first one that I did, just because talking and painting is not my cup of tea, but hopefully you guys were able to just kind of see where my brain goes, because that's really what I wanted to establish more than having a very nice polished portrait to show you guys today, is what my mind goes through as I'm doing things in time for the daily prompts. So if you're in the chat with me, I'm gonna stop painting on this one, time being over, but hopefully you learned a thing or two here. I'm gonna go through the questions now that I'm seeing on the chat. And thank you so much for everybody that's here, guys. Happy Halloween. Maybe let me put the camera on me while answering the questions. Hey, guys. Scrolling up, Christiana says, I'm a beginner drawer. Can I also participate? Absolutely. This is for everybody and anybody, no matter your skill level. The idea is really just to get out of your comfort zone by doing a little bit every day. And it can be 5 minutes, it can be 10 minutes, it can be a half an hour like I was showing. And sometimes it will go well, sometimes it's going to go less well. That's normal. The idea is to not judge what you're doing, but just doing it, really. What canvas size I have, Miguel? That's a 3000 by 3000. And yes, I was in Photoshop. Mystery says, how long did it take you to gather all the reference pictures? It depends on each of them. Sometimes it's harder to find some. This one, I think, if Frankenstein has a lot of things on Pinterest. So it can be anything between like 5 to 10 minutes. I do take the time because in my particular, for me, doing those will also help me promote the challenge on Instagram. So I take more time than most. But you can really just find one reference if you want per day, which will take you just a few minutes, and then do that one. I like to take a lot more because I like to try to create things with more than one reference. It helps. Laura says, I would be nervous having the time on the size plus people watching. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it it's always stressful to do something with time and having people watching. And I think the results always show up to be a little bit less good just because there's a lot of talking, there's a lot of nervousness. I think when you're very focused on your illustration with your headphones, it should go much, much better. I would still be stuck on the first line. Yeah, it's normal to kind of fear time, and you have to have some practice to be able to actually really let go of that fear and kind of just have the thinking of like, all right, so it is what it is, and then move on with it. And the idea is not to have mediocre art for each of the painting. The idea is kind of like more like a switch of mentality, where it's like it's more important to do the work on an everyday basis. And the goal with the Daily 5 challenge is that once you have passed that bar in your head of like, I'm scared to do it into a small amount of time and to post the results, once you have that out, the idea is not to just do 5 or 30 minutes. Is eventually you'll do 5 minutes every day, and sometimes you'll have an illustration that you're going to start and you'll be like, oh, you know what, I'm going to spend more time on it. But as long as you're doing a little bit every day, no matter what, then you'll have those moments that will appear more into your timeline, more 30 minutes, an hour, and so on. And the idea is to create an art habit from it, basically. So don't judge what you have done today, judge the entire journey kind of thing. And that's what we're trying to establish. It's a journey of learning. Pippa says, this Frankenstein is nice. I would probably trust him. Yeah, he looks a little bit too nice, actually. Rose, it goes the other way for me. Doing quick paintings makes me stop thinking, brain empty. Just shape. Yeah, you might discover some strength of yours, and this is definitely one of them, when you're able to just kind of switch off, not see details, and focus on shapes, and just really see those basic shapes will really help you to eventually paint from imagination. Mystery says, I've been falling short on the Day 5, but I'm going to give it another shot this November. Yes, which gives me the opportunity to remind everybody, this November we're creating cards that we will sell at the end of the month. This is the first time we're doing this, so if you want to participate, be sure to be in the chat. There's probably a link in the description. We will give the brief tomorrow for everybody to participate, and what's cool is I will show you how I'm going to upload my own cards to my Society 6 to show you how any illustration can really go up there and you can create a card that you can sell. And I'll teach you a few tips during the month on how to make sure that you have at least one card sold. So that's going to be in November. I'm going down. Sustain. This is very helpful. Clear up how to get through these better in short amount of time. I've been struggling with that. Yes, I know it is a struggle with time, but I'm glad I was able to help you guys to just kind of understand. And don't trust the final outcome. Like my first Frankenstein was a lot better, I think, than this one, probably because the stress of doing it live and everything. But don't trust it. Don't judge the final outcome. Just have fun. Practice those basic, loose sketch, doing a final sketch, establishing the design early on, and then spend a little bit of time on basic forms, basic shadows, a little bit of different colors variations, and that technique will get better and better with time. Papa says it looks great. Always have a hard time doing. I often use lasso tool to make shapes, then something. There's so many different techniques. This is one of them. Hopefully the one that I showed you also will give you some more knowledge on how to do those things. I like to use just hard edge brush and then kind of soften them up with the smudge tool or a mixer brush tool. And Sherry says, I always up spending more than 5 minutes. I keep finding things to fix and to add. Yes, and that's a trap too. And I'm part of that trap as well. When you find an illustration that you're really happy with, how to stop something that you start being proud of. And you don't have to necessarily. So, the daily prompt is there to guide you towards building an art habit. If you feel inspired by an illustration once in a while, just keep continuing on it. There's no shame into that. If you are posting it, then just be honest about it, because we are doing the daily prompts between 5 and 30 minutes. If you spend 2 hours on it, some people find it a little bit misleading. But beside that, I think there's no problem. You should definitely continue working on the pieces that you inspired from. All right, so I don't see any more questions. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me today. I hope that this was helpful to you. We will start the new challenge tomorrow. So if you're not part of the DPA, not the DPA, the tribe, definitely go in there. I'll be sharing the brief as well as the new prompt list tomorrow morning. Have a good, happy Halloween to all of you guys. Don't eat too much candy. Have fun. Good night for the people out there that's about to be night. And for the rest, happy painting. I'll talk to you soon, guys. Ciao.